Hello, everybody. It is that time of the week again. It is your illustrious host, Dragon's Fury and Infernal Drake.
Hope it's been going good for all y'all.
Yes, we hope you have been caught up with all of the vast content that is available on our site, on Apollo's site, the random library that Infernal has. There's a lot there, so hope you're caught up. If not, go do that. And for those who have not joined yet, we do have the Patreon, and that's where a lot of the fun happens. We have all of our bonus episodes there as well as the bonus content that we do, including but not limited to con vlogs, the Shim Sham Chronicles, and the other various things that we did together, and what we're going to do in the future because we have another con trip coming up, as well as 2 to 3 more trips. So there is a lot to be done.
That's a lot of trips.
Yep, there's a lot of trips. Apparently, Zuko's not happy about it. That
Mm.
being said, today is going to be a day of stories of my exploits of various things, and maybe Infernal's exploits of various things. I don't know what he's up to when we're not recording.
Mm.
So,
Well, just working at a new job and trying not to make my brain die.
I'm thinking you're too close to making your brain die. Yeah, his brain died.
Derp.
But yeah, so first things first, uh, Black Myth is coming next month, and I am trying to come to terms with paying $60 for a video game, because I don't like doing that. But
Yeah, I know. You never really buy games at full price.
I don't want to be behind on Black Myth. I don't want it to be a ruined, uh, because it's been so long that I am basically just like so behind. I kind of want to be in the forefront of the content creation and the content release, if you will, for Black Myth. So there's a strong
Mm.
possibility that I might be on the forefront from that one. I don't know. I still have to come to terms with it. That's still a lot of money. Um,
Yeah,
Also, wow.
I don't know, because I feel like paying full price for a game, yeah, it's definitely hard on the wallet, but I mean, if it's a good game, it'll be worth it.
Yeah, but see, I don't know that ahead of time. I don't have future sight being like, yeah, this game's going to be worth that $60 because it cannot be worth $60, and then I'm upset because I spent $60 and I'm not having fun. So that is worse of a deal than odds I would like to gamble with most times. And yeah, about a solid 85%, I was correct. All of the games that I bought later on were not $60 drop kind of fun.
Yeah, yeah, at times, yeah.
So, given my track record, it is fair for me to be skeptical and wary of making a purchase, especially of a game type that I know for a fact that I will not be good at. So, not really making an effort to really get into it. But I really like Wukong, so I do want to play the game.
Yeah, no, the
Also,
game, yeah, the game does look good from what I've seen. Also, speaking of games that are, have been announced and not sure about released yet. Have you seen the trailer for the Bleach game that is being worked on?
maybe, but I also have been like avoiding it.
Really?
Yeah, because I've grown to understand that the games that they've been creating, because they did this with JJK and what was it, Solo, that they don't make an effort to use generalized footage where it won't really spoil anything for you. Like, I understand that, like, a lot of these, like, at least in JJK's instant, like it's out, it's finished or whatever, but still don't give away like the big secrets in the gameplay.
Oh,
Because
I mean, with the JJK one, like that was just a horrible game through and through.
I understand it wasn't a good game, but I'm saying like that, like the way that they were like advertising in a lot of the ads I saw, it was like just throwing a lot of like the big reveals and the big techniques just out the gate. And of course, for people who've seen the show, it's whatever. But for those who haven't, and JJK being a very intro anime for a lot of people, especially now it's on the rise, with people like enjoying more stuff, especially with it being added to a lot of anime being added to Netflix, and a lot of people are watching their anime that way. People are coming in way more than they normally would. Don't go throwing the good stuff out like that.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but like for stuff like Bleach, for example, it's like that's been around for such a long time now. It's like they can go ham.
They can go ham on the older stuff. Don't go ham on the new stuff, like what
Well, I
Souls
mean,
did.
oh yeah, no, Souls that one went all over the place. But no, from what they've shown with the trailer, because they obviously showed the stuff during the Rukia rescue. Um, they showed Ichigo with this hollow mask, so I'm assuming it would. I'm going to assume it's going to go up to at least Wikamundo, which is going to be a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, like obviously they've only shown like a little bit of it, but the combat looks better than honestly the amount of memes I saw of just because you know that scene when in the Thousand Year Blood War when Byakuya is telling Ichigo to save the Soul Society.
Yeah.
Basically, they took that scene and it's like, please save anime fighters, and it shows like JJK in the ground. It's like, yeah, no, like the JJK game was so bad.
Yeah, it's so yeah. I've been pretty much like avoiding it, mainly because it probably popped up during a time when I was like, I'm trying to get something done here. Like I don't need this interruption.
Hmm.
So I tend to avoid a lot of like game apps or whatever. Also, I'm kind of like in this weird space with games of being like, I don't tell me anything about it. Like let me kind of like see the banner for it and then want to look into it myself. Like I don't really like the whole bombardment of it.
Hmm.
And it's mainly because of the fact that it's like, oh, you know, it's on your For You page. It must be. I was like, yeah, because it's like a similar shoestring connection of the things that I watch. Yes, I watch content of people arguing about anime. Does not mean I want to know about every fucking piece of anime related content. Like, stop. Like, it's like what was it? For what? Oh, so this was added to my Facebook a long time ago. Like I want to say, like last year, maybe a year before that, and for whatever reason, it showed back up saying it was like, "Oh, this is for review to add to your timeline." I was like, "But I already did, so I don't know why you're saying this again." But it was basically a link to a video of this guy essentially arguing with himself about the hate towards Lord Third, and
Oh,
how like people were always like Lord Third wasn't actually trash, and so it's him going back and forth on both sides of it of like the stuff that happened to Naruto, and then it's like, oh well, you could have done this, you could have done that, and then he's like, what could he, blah blah blah, whatever. And I remember I commented on the link posting on my Facebook being that Itachi's the best character. I don't care about anyone else.
yeah, no, he thought hell, I thought she should have been Hokage.
Itachi could have been Hokage if he, didn't end up the way he ended up. And it's ghosting. And I would have loved some of the like what if fan art that came to be like animated, if it's like if the people who were encircled deaths didn't die, like how would things be different? And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to see, you know, Kakashi and Obito and Rin, you know, grow up, be whatever, and then like to see what, because Itachi still would be the badass that he is, but without the need to, you know, take out everybody. Because
Everyone dies.
everyone dies, because I do believe that Obito would have had the influence to make it so that, you know, the Uchiha aren't, you know, alienated to the point that they were. Um, you know, Tachi, Sasuke, you know, grow up funness, whatnot. You have, you know, Naruto still has his family, is like, you know, big happy things, but then you still would have the normal, you know, conflict, because Orochimaru would still been on his fuck shit. That still would have happened. The Sand Village would still been on their fuck shit in the beginning. That still would have happened. Um, the like, do I think Madara still would have happened in a different way? I think there would have been a different problem instead
Mm-hmm.
of what it was. I still think it would have been, you know, that whole ordeal with them happening. What I'd say, he still would have tried to come back. So that still would have happened, but all of that happening with like these different players would have been just so great to see, like that imagined and like played out. Um, so someone out there has that capability, please make it happen. I would thoroughly support you. And
He would spend all the monies.
I wouldn't say all the monies, but I definitely would spend the side hustle money, which is the money that I'm hoping to get from YouTube when we pop off. So I believe it would be a nice chunk of change. I would put towards that. So yeah. So story time.
Okay.
Multiple story time.
Oh boy.
First, the first two are small. Isekai is taking over in a massive way, and I'm here for it. Because of this, so like all of the various isekai animes that are out and are coming out, and the current ones running, all this fun stuff, it has made my discovery page very interesting, because I've come across two isekai style manhwas, and I am addicted.
Which ones?
Demon Evolution and The Constellations Are My Disciples.
The constellations are my. That sounds interesting.
It is. I'm in like the first. I think I'm in like the first 10 chapters, and so. But essentially, dude ends up getting reincarnated after he fights basically the dude who's about to destroy the world. Like final boss tower kind of level, like his fingers on the button. If you don't stop him now, game's over. Like whole tower drill thing. Like if he gets his way, the world as we know it is over, and not like civilization will eventually repair us. No, like world gone. That's it. Game over. No more world. No more planet. Like kind of level of destruction. Like the guy was like called the god of destruction or something. Like he.
Beers?
Nanook would been proud. Beerus wished he was this level of destruction.
Damn.
Because like Beerus is still like in the sense of like his realm, like it's still like kind of like limited in reality. It's like, okay, yeah, you're a destroyer and you can destroy these things, but it's still within reason, if that makes any sense. Like you're destroying planets, and you know that's pretty much it. Like you yourself aren't destroying galaxies or like the fabric of reality. Then there's Nanook.
And he is ready to break everything.
And he is going to break everything. So like, and then like there's like this guy where it's like, again, it seems like he is like Nanook. He is the essence of destruction. There's no getting rid of him. Like he's not a vessel of destruction like Beerus is. He is destruction. It's like incarnate. So it's like no matter how many times you beat him, there will always be a version of him later. Like you can't, it's always like this internal struggle, if you will. So he seems to be like that kind of character, right? So he gets beaten by basically this dude who's considered the martial god, right? So it's two top motherfuckers just duking it out, right? So he finally and this is like in the first few chapters. So he finally beats him,
Spoilers.
but he's spoilers is way later. Spoilers is apparently what I read when I found the manhwa.
Oh, that sucks.
But it's one of those spoilers where like, how the fuck do we get here? And I'm reading and I'm like trying to figure out how the fuck we get here.
So it's the kind of spoiler that makes you want to read.
Yes, and man, is it good. And so he's doing that. So he's like, and then he like pops back up in like another body. He's like, well, shit. And then he starts doing shenanigans upon that. And so if you're interested, go read so you know what kind of shenanigans this man gets into. And then Demon Evolution is along the same aspect of Top Dog is fighting the demon, like the top demon, and he's like fighting like they're called demons, but I don't know if there's the sense in this of what we think they are. I think that's just what their name is. And it was like this big like onslaught kind of like fight. It was like they were it was almost like a dungeon break in like solo equivalent of like the amount of like monsters that are just attacking. And so he's like leading his squad in the fight for it, and he's just going ham, whatever. He's like the last one standing, and he ends up like dying from it, right? He gets reincarnated. But he got reincarnated with a twist. So if you want to know what the twist is, they tell you what the twist is very early on, but it's still a like, what the fuck kind of moment. So I am leaving that part out of the story time. So if you want to know what that is, Demon Evolution. Very good.
Yeah, it definitely sounds interesting.
So those are the two that I'm reading currently. One of them has 66 chapters, and I think the other one has 73.
Okay, so definitely a good read.
Yeah. And so, in other news of Storytime, I have gone back to Skyrim in an adjacent fashion. I went back to Skyrim adjacent. So I went to Skyrim in ESO.
Interesting.
Because I have finished. So on both accounts, because I have two. So in both accounts, I have completed the main quest of the main area that I was in. So I finished the area on my PC where I was doing for the Queen of the Imperials.
For the Queen.
For the Queen. And then I ended up going to the Alakir Desert and started fighting for the king. So
Oryx, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I was fighting for the king. And so I'm doing that. So on my PS4, which is my original account, I finished Northern Elsewhere, but I can't do Southern per se. Because it's not a DLC that I have unlocked. I think I can get to it manually. Like, I think I can still travel to Southern Elsewhere, like, kind of like a weird circumvent, but I can't actually go into the menu and be like, start story, like, the stories, like, the zone story mode kind of deal, because it's locked, because I don't have that DLC per se. So I think certain parts of Southern Elsewhere is available to me, but not, like, the whole area. So I was like, okay, so I'm pretty much done with Elsewhere. I want to go somewhere that I haven't been. So I wasn't going to go to Valenwood because we've already started in Valenwood. I'll eventually get back there and finish that one. And I'm not going back to Cold Harbor because I've already done that one. And that one fucking sucked. Fighting Moloch is a bitch. Like, I hate dealing with Moloch. He's a cunt. So I was like, you know what? I'm going back to Skyrim. So I'm in Solitude. And upon arrival, I am met with an individual who is dying. And he's like, hey, take this. And I'm like, fuck you mean? And he was like, they're coming, blah, blah, blah. You know, the rantings of a dying man. And then he falls dead. And I'm just like, okay. Me just being a cat and a suit of armor. Because I'm always a Khajiit. I'm in less clothing, technically. Like, I hid my armor under my costume, so it looks like I have less clothes on, and my PC account, but it's way more summery, so it's like, it's fitting, because I'm in the desert, so it makes sense for me not to have a lot of clothes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it can be hot as hell.
It's hot as hell. Also, I'm covered in fur. Let's be real here. I'm completely insulated. And so we're going through all this. He comes to me and say, then a fucking guard shows up. And the guard was like, hey, what did that blah, 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 whatever the fuck he called him, say to you? And I was like,
Probably a slur.
You probably. And I was like, fuck if I know. He said this, right? So I tell the truth because I was like, I don't have a lie option. It's just like one of the other options of telling the truth. So it's either tell him the exact truth or tell him the truth of being like, I don't know what the fuck he told me. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So I told him exactly what it says. And he was like, preposterous, blah, 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 there's no such thing, et cetera, mind your business kind of deal, right? So I was like, well, I'm going to kill you as soon as I can. And so I was like, well, you can go fuck yourself. And then I proceed to go not mind my business. And
yeah, that sounds alright.
so I go off. There's a contact in the city, and like she's trying to stab me because she's like, "Ha, who the fuck are you? I don't know anybody by that name." Blah blah blah. The guy who died basically in your arms not too long ago, and you tell her, and you're like, "Well, he's dead," and she's like, "Well, that sucks. He was supposed to get me out of this shithole," and if she was, and so you talk about whatever, she's like, okay, well, and then you ask her, like, what are you gonna do? She was like, well, I'm getting the fuck up out of here. I'm taking his horse and I'm fucking leaving. And I was like, bet. So go off over there, and then I run into Liz Titanborn, I believe is her name. Essentially Muscle Mommy. She's a half giant and Nord, looks like. So like, imagine Mjolnir, but like bigger.
Oh.
Like, my character's not short, and he was titty height. Like, she was towering over me.
For some people, they would say that is the perfect view.
No, it is. It absolutely is the perfect view for me and Queen. So it works out. It was just weird because, stop looking at me like that. And it like, we clipped into each other, so it was like basically like weirdly faced inside of her. I was like, this is kind of creepy. Anyways, and so you find out that she's from one of the other. She's from the other region, not the other region, one of the other holds, and I can't remember which one. I think it's Morthal.
I'll say yes.
I can't remember. Because remember, ESOL's map of Skyrim is not the same as Skyrim because this happens way beforehand. So the lines aren't the same. So I can't remember. It's one of the ones that are up there with where Solitude is. And so, but those kings are beefing, right? So anytime one is brought up on the other, they're like, I spit at you, I bite my thumb at you, you know, drop a glove in front of them kind of deal, right?
In your generation.
And so we're doing that, and we're going through, and we're basically trying to roll in your king. It was like, hey, there is a plot in your kingdom that you need to worry about. Yes. Turns out it's like a whole thing with like a coven of witches, and the witches are employing vampires, so there's vampires thing, and then they're doing this ritual that's basically the ruin of, you know, Elder Scrolls, and it's just turning people into zombies instead of, you know, herald fiends. It's turning them into like vampire zombies. And so like they're going feral and like eating things, but it's not just the people, it's everything. So the bear's gone crazy, the tigers have gone crazy, the people have gone crazy. They're all just like feral vampires at this point. And so I had to deal with all that. You end up picking up like one of the, like, quote unquote the good vampires after you tried to murk him. And he's basically an alchemist, and he's like, whoa, I'm just trying to gather information from his investigation, which he was looking for some stolen goods, which happened to be the same stolen goods that you end up turning up when you were looking for evidence for the threat to the kingdom that you needed to provide to the queen so that you convince the king to stop being a dick and actually do something about it. Well, in the process of doing that, you end up you get all this evidence, you try to get back to the queen, come to find out the queen's been murdered.
Oh, Jesus.
And the queen's been murdered. You're trying to figure out what the fuck is that. So you go to the king, and you're like, hey, what the fuck's going on? Like, what is that? Now, the king thinks it's you that had something to do with the queen being murdered, and we're like, what the fuck you mean? We were working for the queen. We were trying to get evidence to prove to you, so this was a fucking problem, because that is why. And they took out the queen because they knew that the queen would be the one to actually do something to thwart their plans. So they were like, whoop, gotta take this bitch out, because that cranky old codger over there in the corner is not going to do shit, because the other guy on the other side, that cranky old codger, doesn't like him. So it works out in our favor. And here is where game logic just gets kind of ridiculous. Like, I understand the way that the game's set up, like, every NPC can't interact with what you are doing specifically, but it's still a funnily annoying thing to happen. So, I'm tracking down this assassin who has gone in and murked the queen, murked the servant girl on the way out, and then, while we're tracking him, has taken out 4 more people on his way out of the city. Taking this dude's wife, like, drained her dry. So he's just like, here's this cold husk of a body. He's just like, he was moving so fast, he was, a blur. And the next two is like a mom and a daughter who are outside of the mausoleum with a priest, and he's just like, man, it's a shame that they are, heading to the mausoleum so soon. And he is like, oh, I gotta look at him, because while he was attacking, I invoked, the grace of Akira, whatever the god's name is, and he ran off. And I was like, classic, begone, whatever, vampire thing, religion. So he was like, yeah, he was a vampire with an eye patch. And he was like, all right, that's a weird thing, but here we go. Then you keep going, and you get to the gate, and there's another motherfucker dead. She was one of the guards, and she's dead because she got jumped by this assassin on the way out. And I was like, how did this dude get through this amount of, like, security? Because there's a bunch of guard NPCs just walking around. Why weren't there more being alerted here? Like, why weren't there, like, like they changed it where, like, the guards are kind of, like, on high alert, because, like, they may not necessarily been able to stop him, but at least they were aware of, like, oh, hey, there's someone, like, there's a threat running around murking people, like, bodies are dropping left and right like flies, like no, but nope, just a dude casually walking with his hands behind his back. And I was like, you are the most useless NPC ever.
I mean, hey, that level 100 sneak does wonders.
It really does. So yeah, I was like, all right, this has been fun. So I'm actively chasing down a assassino. So I link back up with my vampire friend, who went to go find an old witch, who then gives me a spell to figure out where the assassin went, based off of kind of like magic smelling him. And you track where he's been. You go to the different places he's been. There's another dead body. And you're like, oh, he's in this camp. So you go to the camp. I help some people on the outside try to save their sister, because they need ingredients from the inside. But it's a bunch of Falmer and carcass inside. And I was like, this is gross. Also, tiny frost venom spiders. So somewhere along the line over the years, evolution decided, let's make the frost venom spiders just bigger. Because they're like normal size
how about
spider.
no?
They're like normal-sized mutated spiders because, you know, the animals in Elder Scrolls are larger than normal. So,
Yes.
like, they are normal small in the sense of, you know, Elder Scrolls standards. They're not as big as, you know, Elder Scrolls 5 size. Like, it's a problem. That they're that
spiders.
damn big. It's like giant-ass spiders. Like, it's a fucking problem. Also, the Falmer have been around for a very long time, which means the Snow Elves have been dead for a very long time. And that's absolutely upsetting.
But, I mean, also kind of makes sense.
Well, yeah, of course it makes sense, but I was like, I wasn't expecting it to be this, like, I wasn't expecting them to be extinct for this long. Like, I imagined it to be maybe, like, 200-300 years or so. I was like, this is a lot.
We're going way back.
Yeah, we're way back. Like, we lost the Snow Elves way back. So I had to deal with the Falmer. That was fun. And by fun, I mean annoying. And, yeah, so that's where I left off with that. Still hunting down this assassino. He might be alive. He might be dead. I don't know. I'm hoping he's not still alive so I can kill him myself.
Oh, Jesus.
Wait, he's been a pain in my ass. I don't even know what he looks like. Outside of he has an eye patch.
Well, at least get his money first.
Maybe. I don't know. He might be broke. But, so, that would be the end of the episode. Do you have any final thoughts for our lovely listeners?
As I am trying to get the thoughts myself. Well, obviously the main thing is just it's still really hot out there, so make sure you're all staying hydrated out there. And let us know in the comments if there's any good shows or games that you've been watching or playing recently. I'm very curious.
Yep, definitely do that. I read them, and so I would love to know. Until next time, we'll see you then.
See you.